Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in, because in this video we're going to be doing a little bit of a chit chat about the Neo 01. And this is not a glitch in the Matrix, but we're going to be looking into the box. There's actually nothing much to see over here. So we have reviewed many different game box solutions, and this is something of a different level. So this device is not the most powerful one out there, but when it comes to the configuration, to begin with the controllers, it's going to be completely different of all of the stuff that we've seen from AliExpress. So we don't have the toilet paper manual, we do have like a decent manual that explains what it is, how you need to set it up, and actually the creator put a lot of effort in here to actually create something. And I think there we're going to be finding the biggest difference. So when it comes to the presentation, but also when it comes to, let's say, the creation of this particular box, this is something of let's say another level, because with software you can do a lot of good things, and that's where most of these, let's say, cheap game boxes fail with bad overall configuration. This particular thing will, when I say promise, but gives us a way more, let's say, game and overall emulation performance, because everything has been set up so far, I understand. So let's do a little bit of an, let's say, a chit chat about the game stuff. You can actually switch to Android if you want to. Not going to be doing that because I wanted to focus on the game box itself. So in here we'll find the Neo 01. So this is interesting because we have like multiple boxes. But let's do a quick unboxing. Let's do this all of the stuff back in. And let's take a close look at this bad boy. But the question of course remains, what can we play and how good will it play? So we have seen all kinds of different boxes. Some of them have the option to play some N64 games, but I'm expecting to have like extreme overall performance here. So I really love the presentation, and I mean particularly when it comes to all of the quality seal stickers. So let's see what's going on over here. Another quality seal sticker. Man, this guy loves his like stickers. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, we're going to be skipping that one. But in here we're going to be finding a very, let's say, familiar box. So he did left the original, let's say, specs, and this is the X96 Max Ultra. Comes with 4 gigs of RAM, and the ROM is 32 gigabytes. I'm not going to be using because it's actually just an Android box, but an SD card. And the first difference we're going to be actually getting is that this thing comes with a whopping 512 gigabytes. So the image with this thing is going to be massive, and I think, and of course, it's an original Samsung card, so you don't need to be careful in backing up and all the shenanigans that we've seen with those Chinese boxes. So the box itself, you can see he put an extra sticker on it to make it more like an authentic game box situation. So at the side we're having the 2 USB ports, the micro SD card. We're having the HDMI out, Ethernet RJ45. We do have an AV, and I would wonder something I didn't mention. I do wonder if this AV out actually works, if you can connect this thing to, let's say, an CRT. But let's open up this bad boy to see what's actually in here. And here we're having the HDMI and the power supply. We know we're going to be needing a converter in my case. But this is not going to be something fancy, let's say just a 5-volt 2-amp, okay. So this is the remote we're not going to be using, but about the remote, let's take a close look at the controllers. The controllers, that is an interesting thing, because I already noticed that this is an interesting concept, but I've seen this with the one before, but I think it was with the top of the same kind of shell, and it is a little bit bigger than your normal PlayStation 2 knockoff controller, but the overall quality is significantly better. It's still a cheap controller, don't get me wrong, but if you're going to be playing with this, it's going to be so much better than those cheap chemical things. And everything we're going to be needing on and off switch over here. So, okay, that means that actually both of the controllers will have their own dongle. What I find okay when it comes to that. But let's add the 3 AAA batteries, and later on let's play with it, because I'm really curious. Let's connect everything and let's see what this thing is all about. The cables has been connected, and let's boot up the device. The first screen we're going to be seeing is some EmuElec, because it was actually going to be running on the latest version 4.8 with all of the latest updates. Next up, we're going to be having the intro of the Neo 01. But let's see what's going on with the menu. I really love having this massive screen, or actually massive video playing on the back end. So we're having PlayStation 1, PlayStation Portable, Supervision. We're having 2 players, 4 players. We're having over all games, 46,000, Amstrad CPS, Final Burn Neo, MAME, Atari, and we have many different systems, a lot of handheld stuff. So what I mentioned before is like a lot of stuff we have seen it, you know, but I think we're going to be having such an interesting image. So this thing is fully optimized. So I'm going to be playing through a couple of, let's say, more demanding or difficult to emulate stuff to see how well it has been set up or just removed, because some games are just unplayable on these low-end devices. But still, there's actually a lot of stuff we can actually play in here. But yeah, you can just see the list goes on and on with all kinds of stuff. 8-bit, 16-bit and 64, you name it. It's all actually on here. Panasonic 3DO, I think this is going to be an interesting one because this is very difficult to emulate. Atomic Wave, of course. Mega Drive, Genesis. That is something I find very cool. So having all kinds of ROM hacks. I think there are like a lot of cool things, like even with Sega Game Gear. I really love those certain categories for having a lot of new different discoveries of different kind of games that have been upgraded or completely modified. And of course some arcade stuff. You do notice when you're getting to the next game, it needs to load up every single time. It will take up a couple of seconds. But even when starting up, I do know that they're using a good quality and fast SD card, because with those Chinese things, they took forever, having problems with corruption, and this runs like a charm, so out of the box. But let's boot up some games. But before we're actually going to be playing a game, let's take a close look at some settings and what can we mess around with. So he didn't lock the system, you can just mess around with the game settings. If you want to remove list, if you want to enable game aspect ratio, if you want to enable banners, you name it, you can just mess around with it. User interface, so that's not set to the ES theme RCBX, but we have all kinds of different ones when it comes to, let's say, the menu. We can just change it out. I'm just going to leave it as it is. You're right, there we go. So having sound settings, we do have the front-end music that we can actually have, and you can switch by pressing the right joystick. So that's kind of cool if you're going to be just messing around with. You can edit new music. There are only like 3 songs on here. Network, system settings. We're going to be getting into the information here. You can see the 4.8 test version is over on here. So let's check out user disk usage. 97% is actually used, so there's not a lot of room. Temperature 62 Celsius. I think that's just like a general thing with these, let's say, boxes. You have like the S95X4 with a CPU number of 4. So yeah, I think it's an interesting, let's say, configuration where I already mentioned before. We don't have like the most powerful box out there, but with the combination with the GPU, the Mali G31, we do have some interesting options that we can do over here. With the menu, I really love the layout. At the right, you can see even the released developer, even how many players we can enter with this particular game. Another thing I just love about it is having extra folders for the MK games over here. Now having the Turtle games that have been separate, that's the only one we're having with the main section. Let's boot up a game and let's see if it loads up. And yep, it does load up. And the reason why I'm so surprised is very simple, is that I've been seeing this problem that I need to switch between emulators all of the time. Let's adjust the brightness. That's much better. Okay. So moving on to this 64 Street game. I must say that when it comes to playing this, it's absolutely fun. The D-pad is very responsive. But another test, of course, with the controller is going to be, can we actually play fighting games with this? But let's say we're going to be playing some Street Fighter. Pressing select will give you the view options. So in here we can go into the search. So let's say we're going to be having something with Street. And we're pressing OK. And in here we're going to be finding all of the Street games, or at least not a Street Fighter. The search option works, but there is no Street Fighter on this freaking thing. I think we need to get into the Final Burn Neo. Well, let's get into that. And I think we can actually find it in here. I do wonder if you also have a mix of Neo Geo. So far I can see Neo Geo is in a separate folder when it comes to that. Let's choose my alter ego. It's going to be Akuma Matata and the Ritsu Ryu. But yeah, the overall emulation performance with these MAME games will run just fine. But let's see how the D-pad responds. No, no. Other side. Okay, yeah, the reason why I choose the different side, I just wanted to see. This is more like a thing of the controller itself. So more like an... It's kind of unfortunate that we do have this weird thing going on. So at this point I'm not convinced that this controller is going to be the best one out there for playing fighting games. But again, it's like a D-pad situation from a certain position. But if you're going to be messing with, let's say, making a favorite list, that's one of the features I love about these EmuElec boxes. We can pressing Y or triangle for the PlayStation gamers and can actually get into the favorite list, or at least make a favorite list. You can remove them, you can add them, and this way it's super easy to add and play games. But does it run Doom? That is another thing. The reason I'm testing this out, because I have seen some of these game boxes have all kinds of cool games like Doom, Hex and Quake, and it didn't boot up at all. Okay, which button do I need to press now? Oh, seriously? It's a sheriff version. Oh man. There is also no music. That's a bummer. But you're getting the point. The only thing I did need to update is that the Doom, whatever is on here, but that thing doesn't boot up at all. So I just wanted to show you that not everything seems to be fun or game, because it automatically loads up in a couple of times, or at least twice, and it goes back to the menu. So we do have a Doom game, but that is something he should update. Moving on to some Alien Crush with the PC Engine. Is absolutely one of my favorite vanilla games to play on the PC Engine. There we go. But of course 8-bit, 16-bit will run just fine on these, but it's also like fun to check it out. And the sound effects. Oh yeah, some Bomberman. I love Bomberman on the PC Engine 16-bit device, but also this one without any problem whatsoever. Here comes the soundtrack. TurboGrafx CD. Okay, so I just wanted to check out what's going on. I do wonder why there are no pictures on here, you know? Like, why? Buster Bros, okay. We have a couple of pictures. There went something wrong with the scraping when it comes to that. Buster Bros on the CD version. It got some really nice soundtracks. So they're a bit low in the volume, but I think that has to do just with the system itself. But this is just Spawn. Yep, this is just Spawn. If you never played this game before, man, you should try. This is such a cool game. It's really satisfying. Adventure Island. Okay, that is an interesting one. The number 3 edition. And I played like Adventure Island 3 a lot. So the Famicom game's running just fine as it is. We do have turbo buttons implemented. I love it when they always implement those. Super convenient with some of the games. Think about shooting games. So we're having the NES hack. So let's see what's going on. All-in-one cards and betas. So in here we're finding all kinds of different versions. Let's see if there's something interesting going on over here. Not really. We're having hacks. Adventure, NES graphics, okay. Battletoad bug fixes. So if you're like really into Battletoads, you want to have the bug fixes. I have no idea what kind of bugs they're fixed. But even translations on here. Homebrew and unlicensed. You know, the list is absolutely massive when it comes to that. NES on the chip. Wait, what? Translations. And we have unreleased games. Tailgater, oh man, this brings back some memories. You know, fun fact, the first time I've ever played it was, I think, on one of those multi-cards, and it wasn't even like the European version. And later on I discovered this game was so legendary, so I actually purchased it. It's such a fun game. Really funky tunes. What you need to do, collect the chests. And when you're going to be having all of the chests unlocked, you're going to be always getting the key for the next stage, and that's it. Sometimes you're getting these boss battles. It's quite basic. And always in the last chest we have the bloody freaking key. Yep. Where I love this, let's say, menu, I think the downside is that sometimes it feels like it needs a couple of seconds of loading with the do of the loading of the background. Yeah, but beside that, let's boot up some games. Let's get into the choplifter of some kind. It's time to get to the chopper with the Super NES. Yeah, I don't want to go deep diving in too many of these 8-bit, 16-bit. I already tested out a couple of them, and you know, this works just fine on my choplifter. It's one of those games that I've played so much. Oh, need to go the other way. But N64 is one of those systems that's going to be interesting to check out. I can already see is that we do miss out a lot of games. Tennessee 007 GoldenEye, the more demanding games that have a lot of struggles that are not on here. So that's good because there we're going to be finding, or let's say, limitations. But let's deep dive into a game. Hydro Thunder is one of those games that I never played on these systems. We're going to be running it on native resolution. I can hear from the audio you do have some crackling noise, but the overall performance is just good enough to enjoy, you know. And you know, there's still a lot of games that make this playable. You can hear that it struggles, but again, if you want to play some N64, not for a lot of money, you should get something like that is Bottasera based on a cheap mini PC that have been tested out. Because those mini PCs can play N64 and native resolution quite well. But again, it is playable at this point.
Time extended. You will fail.
Man, this was one of the most wicked, frustrating Mortal Kombat games ever released with Subby Wobby Avengers. If you never played this, you should absolutely check it out. Okay, so let's see what's going on. Can we actually fight, or we can block? I have no idea how I'm actually going to be moving. And then, okay, blocking, running, moving, everything. But how do I fight? I'm already struggling, you know? I'm already struggling with the freaking menu. Oh, default controls. We can switch. Oh, I need to use the freaking right joystick. Oh, what a mess. You know, that's one of those things that I'm thinking, like, why? Let's see, alternative controls. Oh, now I can move with the... I can actually move the character and fight like normal with the normal buttons. Okay. So this game was already frustrating as it can be. Game Boy Advance hacks. Okay, that sounds really interesting. So unreleased translation hacks. And let's see what kind of stuff is on here. Final Fight 1 arcade remix. Okay. And we're having Doom, the PC conversion. Okay, this is something I need to check out. Already tried Boom, but I just wanted to see what's going on. Oh, this is super pixelated. Oh, this is really bad, but it's kind of cool that they try to get this to work on the Game Boy. We do have turbo buttons. Oh, look at the low pixels. Final Fight Remakes arcade version on the Game Boy Advance. There's no bezels implemented, so we do have like a widescreen. So moving to the Panasonic 3DO, the first thing I noticed that it loads really fast. But let's see how it actually gameplay is, because yeah, you know, this is just pushing the device to its limit. Same with N64. But is it playable? Mm. The S905X4 does handle it way better than the previous boxes, but at this point we're not there yet. And again, I think we need to have like a mini PC solution of some kind. But it is playable to a certain point. And of course, depending what kind of game you're playing. For example, if you're going back to the menu, Real Pinball, let's boot that one up. Let's see how that is going to be playing. In Real Pinball 3DO, let's see what's going on with this. I did see myself getting in part of the game booted up. There we go, 3DO. But I have to wait for some time, nothing actually happened. But let's boot up the Pro Pinball game, another game of Battle Pinball this was, because the Pro didn't boot up, didn't get anything going on after, like say, the first couple of screens. But I have no idea what's going on with this pinball game. But I think Panasonic 3DO is an amazing system. However, there are still a lot of games that need a lot of tinkering, or, you know, it's of course a combination of having a problem with, let's say, just the Overal emulator and the performance of the CPU GPU. But it's kind of cool. Versus mode pinball. I have never seen a battle pinball game. Oh. But with just simple games, you can just see this works just fine. I did wonder like what's going on with the Sega Genesis. What kind of special hack games did they implement in here? Because when it comes to the Sega Genesis, we do have a lot of cool ones. Mortal Kombat 2 Unlimited. Let's see, we're going to be having all of the Street of Rage stuff. Okay, it says like this interesting. Rock and Roll Racing V60 Music Improved. That is something I really want to look into. All of the Sonic versions, or at least like a lot of them. Restoration, okay. Enhanced colors. Looney Tunes, Mortal Kombat CX, Street Fighter. Oh, that's cool. That's absolutely cool. There are a lot of very cool things in here. But Rock and Roll Racing with better music. That is interesting. Okay, this sounds indeed different. The music indeed different. But is it better? Yeah, that sounds better, yeah. But I think this is more like a situation if you're going to be loving just the original authentic game. Like Rock and Roll Racing is such a cool game. Oh yeah. Okay, this is really cool. Let's see how this game actually... Okay, that's cool, they implemented some extra sound effects. Oh, that's cool, man. This is the ultimate version with all the characters. And then you replace the original ones with Mortal Kombat. Let's see. Oh, Scorpion's over here. Shao Kahn. Oh, that is really awesome. I must say they did put some extra effort in it, but you know, it's still not like, it feels like not a complete version. Can I do the cut over here? Okay, the idea itself is kind of cool, but it just feels like an unfinished game. But I also noticed the folder hacks in the Sega 32X. And that's intriguing because there are a lot of cool ones out there. So they had like this Mortal Kombat 2 Ultimate Edition, Sonic and Chaotix 2. Let's get into this. But when it comes to the Mortal Kombat 2 for the Sega 32, that wasn't quite a good version. But let's see what made it Ultra or Ultimate. Oh, it was disappointing. I was expecting actually the final bosses. I should like look deep into it to see what's changed out, maybe some music or some other cool things. We're optimizing the game for the Sega 32X. But I think it's kind of cool to have like this optimized version put on the cartridge you can actually collect and play on your 32X. He's going to be shooting. Yep, he's going to be shooting. Oh crap. Ah. I have no idea how to do the move. Oh, that was the one. Was that the other one that you can actually hold it? Sega Saturn would be another interesting platform because when you're going to be looking into the Saturn stuff, that is going to be interesting because this is a system that is like pushing this device actually to its limits. But let's boot up a game that can be interesting. Yeah, there is a guide and there's another interesting one. I must say that I'm surprised of the overall performance. So the two-dimensional games are less demanding. But again, it's the N64 story. If you're going to be want to play this, and even in like upscale mode, you just need an mini PC. And of course, they are like more expensive if you're going to be building it with some Bodysera. But it's kind of cool to see that we can actually play some Sega Saturn with these things now. Well, let's get into some three-dimensional stuff with some Sega Rally. And out of the box.
Sega Rally Championship.
That I'm also here surprised that this runs actually quite good now. With mini PCs we do have the option to upscale it to higher resolutions, let's say 1080p, making the games look so much better. But native is enjoyable. I will not actually play this on like say a 55-inch television. Because man, this looks really hideous. That's why I love upscaling, but if you're going to be playing it on 24-inch or 32, that's fine. Let's see which button I need to press. It's always like a question with all the different emulators. Oh, there we go. Okay, D-pad is configured, not the analog stick. Yeah, you do see the glitches going on. I don't know what kind of emulator he is using now with this particular game, but I'm quite surprised how okay the frame rate is. You can actually see it. The frames are not showcased on the display. Somehow he doesn't want to enable them. Another system that is playable and runs quite good on these devices now is some Sega Dreamcast. I think this is such a cool actually device, or at least I love the Dreamcast. Let's do a test bench with the Dead or Alive 2 game. And let's do a little bit checking out. And you can just see how fast everything goes when it comes to loading. And there's some minor hiccups in the beginning. I'm trying to do my move, but somehow my freaking D-pad, I'm still struggling with my D-pad. I even swapped controllers. Whoa, that was a massive glitch. Project Justice, man, this is such a very awesome game. I've been playing it. I think Rival Schools was the first one. I played that so much on my PlayStation 1. It was such a fun game. But the one of the Sega Dreamcast, I never got really into that. But let's move on to a less demanding game. See how that actually runs. Do we see some glitches going on? Okay, that seems to be running just fine. then the counterpart, the Naomi system with some gigawing. This is a very demanding game. Okay, that was weird. Okay, the controls for the joystick are completely messed up. Because I was just actually pressing right and it goes left. Okay, but the D-pad seems to be working just fine. When I'm listening to the music, I don't hear anything going on when it comes to the audio. Let's go to the super move. This seems to be running quite nice. Such a beautiful shmup. And of course we're going to be testing out a little bit of Neo Geo. And when it comes to Neo Geo itself, yeah, I don't expect any problems there. Why do I struggle with the D-pad sometimes, and now I'm getting the moves out? I think I need to press the D-pad really hard. So Neo Geo system, so we're going to be getting into the list over here. It's quite interesting. So they made like these very nice folders: Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, and of course my favorite, Metal Slug. We also have the option for the Neo Geo Pocket and the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I don't find these really, let's say, enjoyable on the big screen, even if you're going to be implementing the bezels. Nah. But let's move to some PlayStation, because that is going to be interesting. Let's see what's going on over here. Now you can see there's nothing of a special folder, at least that I noticed. But there's a lot of different stuff on here. Absolutely not. But it's not going to be a problem, because PlayStation 1, we've reached the point these boxes can play it fine on native resolution. But that I thought I had something weird going on. But also with adding this particular game, there is no background music. Normally I would say they're doing this to save space. But yeah, we do have like a massive 5 or 12 gigabyte storage capacity when it comes to this. It's quite unfortunate. So this is one of the things you absolutely should look into. The Saltbrick has some really cool funky soundtracks. And such a shame that we don't have the original soundtracks with this game. So let's deep dive into some other games. Oh man, Need for Speed 3 has like the most legendary soundtracks. You should look it up. I love these very cool games, particularly because of the soundtracks, you know. There it goes. Oh, that sounds so great. But this is just the reason why I wanted to have with the other game my freaking, let's say, soundtracks. But if you're going to be listening, you can just hear some minor slowdowns. That is interesting. So let's get into the loading screen. Let's see how fast that actually works, and let's get into the game if you have the same kind of problems. Oh, those soundtracks. Yeah. Okay, so we can actually use the analog stick. That's great, because it's way more accurate. Okay. But no problem here when it comes to some PlayStation 1 gaming. So I have no idea why some of games then in the end have no freaking soundtracks, but it's quite unfortunate. But Need Speed does have it. That one just needed to double check if they implemented some music for Tekken. How many times we have Pandora's boxes, game steak that had no freaking music. Oh. So where I love like Tekken 2 and 3, I'm not like a big fan of Tekken 1. This was actually the first game I ever noticed on the Tekken series on the demo disc on my PlayStation. Oh, I played this game so much. Demo games. But also the configuration of the buttons are great. That's something I also mess up with like a lot of game boxes and Pandora's boxes. Next up, of course, PlayStation Portable. So this is a system that is really demanding, and most of the time we do have a little bit of struggles with emulation. But let's see what's going on over here. There's not a lot of games. You can actually see that we do have a very small library, and for a good reason, because I know a lot of them, like in God of War, will not run perfectly. But I'm guessing the games you can actually see on here will have not enough tweaking to actually enjoy them. But how about the emulation of PlayStation Portable? Pressing the home button will give you the option to mess around with the settings. Leave the stream skip set to 1, so that's interesting to actually see. So let's check out if we can enable frames per second and start playing the game, because yeah, this is going to be a challenging one. There is no data. Okay, so we need to make a new game. Yeah! It's going to be looking pretty hideous. It's not going to be running on full frames per second, because this is just going to be really challenging to play on these game boxes. But with a little bit of tweaking, you can see it is playable. It looks really ugly, and yep, we do have some stutters here and there. But yeah, PlayStation Portable is just one of those systems, particularly when it comes to three-dimensional games, but you're just going to be having a lot of struggles there. It's cool that they added this, but you know, I personally find it not enjoyable to play like that. But even with a game like Jetpack Joyride, I think this year should focus on these kind of games, because this is just a lot of fun to revisit the old school games, and you know, they work perfectly. I do wonder what's going on with the settings, so we can actually disable the frame skipping. We can even do some wicked show frames per second. So let's say do a little bit of filtering. No, let's leave it there. And you know, we can even mess around with rendering resolution, set it to 2 times. Let's see what happens. It's going to be looking a little bit better, and it still runs on 60 frames per second. Woohoo! Played this game way too many times. There we go, come on. But there are so many different games to play on a game box like that. So I also do a little bit of test benching with some of these more demanding emulators. And of course, we cannot play GameCube, we cannot play PlayStation 2. We're going to be needing something a different level of, let's say, emulation performance. It's kind of cool to have like a 2-player folder. And if you're going to be using multiple controllers, you can even use the 4-player option. Pressing start, you can just implement new controllers over here through Bluetooth if you want to. You can set up the controllers to a certain player, and in this way we can just play with 4 players. Yeah, and yeah, when it comes to devices like this, we have limitations, but there is so much we can actually play. Another thing I do wonder is like how it comes with the temperatures. It's hitting 77 Celsius. Yeah, and I think that is one of the things with these boxes. They should like create a special case for it, but they also the ones from AliExpress did back in the day, and or even implement a fan or some kind to give it a little bit better cooling. But besides that, yeah, it's kind of cool when it comes to the collection, and particularly the old school stuff will run just fine on this. The Neo 01, it's not going to be the king of, let's say, the game boxes, with a simple reason, because the S905 X4, it's not like the most powerful chip at the moment. And of course, with a mini PC, we can actually do so much more. But where you're going to be having a box that is way better optimized than the ones we have seen from China. And this is not a hot mess with a good SD card and having an overall, let's say, better experience with loading times and everything else. So controller-wise, the controllers are quite nice. I must say they are like a little bit of a top clone thing wirelessly with just batteries in the inside. We can also use rechargeable batteries if you want to, an on and off switch. And yeah, when it comes to comfortability, these things are not bad at all. The D-pad feels nice, but still when playing some fighting games, I really had like a little bit of a handicap. If this is like something that I have just a problem with, or it's the controllers, I can really not figure that part out. Thank you all for watching, and let me know in the comments what do you think of a Neo 01, or are you going to be getting something different? brand that is going to be more expensive, but have the option to play GameCube, PS2 and other stuff. Thank you all, and it will be great to see you in the next video.